I'm Jamie Brown with j'aimelemoments.com, and this is my in-depth review of the Nespresso Vertuoline espresso machine. This is the final machine that I'm reviewing in a set of 5 machines that I did a larger comparison review on. If you didn't see it, you should hop over to my channel and check out that video. It's a bit longer and it compares the features and benefits of 5 super common single-serve espresso machines, so that if you're like me, you're kind of groggy, you wake up in the morning and you just give me my latte. These machines are all great for pop in a pod, hit a button, and through some mixture of magical cafe coffee thing, you suddenly get your latte. It really depends on which machine you pick for how that sort of happens. Okay, the Nespresso Vertuoline. This is of the 2 Nespresso machines I'm reviewing. This is the cheaper of the 2. This one retails for $2.99, but you'll see that I have the frother with me. I purchased it in a bundle with this frother, and that put the price point at $3.49. I like to have my espresso with appropriate amounts of milk, so I like it in a latte form, and that made this frother just completely necessary for me. I want to start by talking about this frother, actually, before I get into too much about the machine. This is a great little guy. He has a magnetic base, and that magnetic base has a little motor in here that spins, and when it spins this little magnetic whisk. So this is one of 2 whisk attachments that you can use. This one doesn't really look like a whisk, it just looks like a little piece of plastic, and that is by design. I don't like a lot of froth in my latte, so I use this whisk, and it will stir the milk, it heats the milk, and it adds a bit of froth on top, but not too much. This is the other whisk attachment that you could use instead, and you can see that he looks much more like a whisk. He has that spring at the bottom, and so he'll create a lot more froth than the other attachment. You can also store him just in the lid, so he magnetically sits in the top of that lid, and then you put the lid there, and that keeps him out of the way of the milk so he won't get messy or dirty, but he's easy to access, which is great. This whole milk frother is a nice self-contained unit. I love that it easily lifts off its base so that you can pour the milk into your beverage wherever that may be, and then it has its base that it lives on when you're done, which is terrific. I like how easy it is to clean too. You can see it looks like a big pitcher, but most of this bottom is for thermal mass to help heat the milk quickly. The actual carafe is actually about half the depth, and that's where you put your milk. So you can, we are able to froth maybe 2 to 3 beverages worth of milk at one time, but that's really going to depend on you, how much milk you like to have in your beverage and how much froth you like to have too, because you can certainly heat more milk than you can froth it in this given volume. So I'm going to put him back. You'll also notice that he has just the simple one button, and that button will allow you to heat and froth the milk or just froth the milk. You hit him once if you want to heat it, you hit him once and hold him if you want to not heat the milk, if you just want to froth it. The last thing I'm going to mention is that the inside of this guy is coated with a great non-stick surface that works really, really well. So he's very easy to just wipe out when you're done. We usually just rinse him and maybe dry him, and then maybe once every week or 2 will I actually wash it with soap and water, because that non-stick surface is so good. I just don't see any reason to do more work than you have to. And then this top, I don't know if they advertise it as being dishwasher safe, but we certainly throw the top and the whisk in the dishwasher. We don't have any problems. Okay, so that's all I'm going to say about this frother. It's great, does its job, very quick and easy to use. Now let's talk about the actual machine. There's not much to this either. It's in contrast to all the other machines I reviewed. You could increase your pour or decrease your pour, or choose an espresso or choose a coffee or whatever. This guy does make both coffee and espresso, but you don't have to do anything. He's got one button and that's it. He does have a barcode reader, just like the Tassimo that I reviewed. And so these are the pods. This is a espresso pod, and this is a coffee pod. So you can see that there's much more coffee in the coffee pod, and there's less espresso in the espresso pod. And underneath, keeping with Nespresso's habit of putting a lot of emphasis on aesthetics and design, they have coded a barcode into these pods on the underside, so it's actually really elegant. It looks lovely. They still have those nice colored aluminum pods. This is an aluminum pod just like the other Nespresso I reviewed, but you can tell that it definitely looks completely different, so the two pods are not compatible. But that barcode is read in the machine, and so that it knows if you've popped in a coffee pod or if you've popped in a espresso pod. You also get a selection of pods when you purchase the machine. This comes as a sampler pack, which is terrific because just like the other Nespresso machine I reviewed, these pods are difficult to acquire. You can't just go to Bed Bath & Beyond or Williams-Sonoma or Target or Walmart or whatever and grab a pack of Nespresso pods. You have to order them online, so you have to be thinking ahead, which is not something I'm good at. And you also sometimes have to pay shipping. I paid shipping on my last order, but occasionally they have promotions where if you order enough or you join a club or you do something, you can get free shipping, but it's not always the case. So that's frustrating to me that although the pods are relatively inexpensive, they're between 65 cents and 75 cents per pod for the espresso. 65 cents if you're buying the old style pod, 75 cents if you're buying that pod for this machine, and that price difference is because you're getting an extra gram or so of grains in the pod, and it's actually proportional. I did out the math and found out that versus the old Nespresso style pod to the new Nespresso style pod, that the quantity of grains that you're getting to the price that you're paying is the same. So the price went from 65 cents to 75 cents, but that's perfectly in proportion to the amount of coffee you're getting in the pod. Similarly, the coffee pods are much bigger, and so they are more expensive. I believe that they are $1.10 per pod, I want to say. I don't remember. Or 95 cents. They're 95 cents per pod for the coffee pods, and that's also in keeping with the volume of coffee that you're getting. Or actually, technically, weight of coffee that you're getting. Mass of coffee that you're getting. Anyways. So, the pods have a fixed price, but you have to add on to that shipping, unless, of course, you live near a Nespresso boutique. If you do, then you can just travel on over there and grab your pods at will, but those are kind of few and far between, and I would reckon that most of us do not live near one. So, on the machine, other features, they have this lovely little bin here, and that's where it collects your spent pods. And I'm going to show you one because it's kind of cool. You can see the neat little pattern that they have on the top for the pod when they're extracting that coffee out, and then there's no holes in the bottom. Since they are aluminum, you can also recycle the pods. So what my husband and I plan to do is take the tops off of the spent pods, dump the greens into the compost, and then rinse them and recycle the aluminum. So that's kind of neat that they're fully recyclable. On the other side here is our water carafe, and he's also pretty easy to remove. And take him over to your sink or where have you and fill it with water and return it. There's no inline water filter, so you're going to want to make sure you're using filtered water so you don't get scaling or buildup in your machine. There's not a cleaning cycle or anything like that, so just be aware that you want to continue to use filtered water to prevent that buildup in your machine. And that's pretty much it. Oh, well, there is one other thing. You can raise and lower this guy depending on the beverage you're making. So you can put him up in this higher area for a espresso, and then you can move him down to the lower area for coffee. And that's it. That's all I can say. So you put your pod in. It dispenses the spent pod here, the water here, your glass here. So without further ado, let's make a coffee, actually. And we're going to start with an espresso. So we'll start with making an espresso. And the really cool thing about this machine is that it uses a different technology to brew. It uses centrifugal force. And so what it does is it punches all those holes in that capsule and it spins it really, really, really fast and uses the centrifugal force to build pressure in the pod, brew the coffee, and push that brewed coffee back out of the pod. Unlike every other type of machine that I've reviewed that just builds the pressure in the pod using a manual pump. So we were very excited about this machine because it made the coffee, it makes the espresso, and it was cool to talk about. And it sounds cool when you run it. So I just punched the holes in the pod. I'm going to lock it. And I realized that I didn't turn this guy on. So I didn't turn it on because he doesn't need to be turned on. So I plugged him in before the video, and then there is no on button beyond that. You just punch the holes in your pod, and then you push the only button the machine has. You can hear him cycling up. While he's going, I can froth my milk. So I'm going to grab some milk, pour it in the frother. And I'm going to hot froth my milk. And you'll notice when this came out, it was a little lighter in color, and that was because of the air that was entrenched in the actual espresso, and you can see that it's kind of falling and building ahead, as if it kind of looks as if it was a Guinness. That's how I compare it. And you can see that he has a nice crema on top, and then he's got a nice dark espresso underneath. So while we're waiting for our milk to froth, I'm going to grab a mug, and I'll show you guys how it makes a coffee as well. So it just dispensed the spent pod into its little bin, put a new pod in, close it down, lock it, and we'll hit go. So I can see that my frother is done, and that was a benefit to me too, is it had the separate frother, which meant that I could run it at the same time. And with the coffee too, you'll notice that you get that lighter color coming out, and then you can see that lighter color start to fall. Again, just as if it was a beer, you can see it's very similar. It's that air-entrenched brew that's coming out that's light in color, and then you watch it kind of fall and separate as that air lifts up, rises to the surface, and then the less air-entrenched coffee settles to the bottom. Worried here we might get some overflow, but it looks like it might just fit exactly. Perfect fit. So, okay, sorry guys, I had to cut out for a second there. You can see that the coffee has fallen a little bit from 1 second ago for you. I actually measured this cup, and it's a 10-ounce cup, so this is actually probably about a, it's a 12-ounce cup, so it's about a 10-ounce pour of coffee, and then, a couple ounces of crema on top. But we didn't buy this machine for its coffee. We bought it for its espresso or latte making skills, and then the coffee was just sort of a bonus. And if you saw my other review, then you'd know that this espresso is totally drinkable, or latte rather, is totally drinkable, but it's just not our favorite. I really think that centrifugal force pulls out some bitter flavors that are not what we want to taste in our cup, because the exact pod that we used is called the decaffeinado pod, and they make the exact same pod for their other Nespresso machine, and we honestly feel that they have very different flavors. So although I love the sound of it when it's taking off, and it's the whirring, and I love saying centrifugal force, and I love the way that this thing looks on my counter, it's just not my favorite machine because of the flavor of the coffee, and it's such a bummer. I really wanted to like it even because of the frother too. The separate frother is gorgeous. I like that it sits on my counter. The fact that it doesn't auto dispense the milk is even totally forgivable. Because I do like that it makes the cold froth, and I do like that I can customize my beverage every morning. I really wanted to like this machine, but at the end of the day, if it doesn't have the flavor, I can't say that it's the one we're going to hang on to. So that's it. I love just about everything about this machine, aside from the espresso that it produces. But if you have any other questions or comments or concerns or things that I didn't touch on, please leave it in the comments and I'll see if I can't get back to you. Thanks guys. Bye.